International Podcast Day is September 30th, and you can help spread the word. International Podcast Day is dedicated to promoting podcasting worldwide. You may be asking, what can I do to get involved? It's pretty simple. First, head over to internationalpodcastday.com and check the suggestions. Second, use hashtag Podcast Day to join in the conversation. Remember September 30th. Now, let's start the conversation.
The following is a presentation of the Match Talk Podcast Network. It's time for Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. We'll talk all things Hokie wrestling with Coach Kevin Dresser and his staff. Now, let's join your host, three-time National Wrestling Writer and Broadcaster of the Year, Jason Bryant.
And welcome again, Hokie fans, episode 36 of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. This is officially the last show of Season 2, as we've got good news, Coach Dresser, as Virginia Tech has renewed. So the next episode of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling will be the start of Season 3 of the podcast. And 2 years, we've had some ups, we've had some downs, we've had some trophies, we've had some fruit, we've had all sorts of controversy. And Coach Dresser, let's just before we get to the nuts and bolts of the schedule in the season, we're going on to Season 3 here with the show.
That's exciting, isn't it? I think, if I'm not mistaken, I like to be first, and I think we're your first customer. So
absolutely,
Our fans love this podcast. I get so many emails and responses from it. So it was a no-brainer when we got ready to renew it. So yeah, I'm excited that we're going on Season 3, fruit or no fruit, man. I'm ready to go.
Well, I want to talk about the fans for a minute because one of my good friends who I grew up with, basically, we've known each other since we were in diapers in the sandbox. She's a Virginia Tech alum, Jennifer Mabe. She lives down in Texas now. She sent me a text about a week ago saying she was at a Hokie alumni function down there and said she ran into a guy and started talking wrestling and goes to listens to all of the shows and knows you. So I want to give Ray Heiza a shout out down there in Texas for listening to this show. She sent me the information. You know what? I'm going to mention this guy on the show because he listens. So thanks, Ray, for all the support here. And see, like I said, I'm connected to Virginia Tech. Sometimes a little too much for my alma mater's liking, but hey, we've got a good program here, and it's thanks to fans like that. And there's tons out there, not just Dale Reed, not just Kevin Humbert, not just Chad Brissett, but guys like Ray and that are listening who I don't even know. So it's guys like that that really make this program flourish.
Well, Ray's traveled with us the last couple of years for the NCAA tournament. So, yeah, Ray's from Dallas, and he's one of our big fans and one of our big boosters. Him and the Z-Man have become wrestling regulars. So we got some amazing how many people we have in Texas that travel to the NCAAs. We got a little Hokie Texas connection going there, and it's fun to branch out.
Yeah, it's also a small world. But as we get moving, first thing we're going to talk about is the upcoming schedule, as it's kind of weird that we close out one season of a podcast to introduce the next season. But we're talking Hokie schedule. We'll get some insight from you on why things are the way they are this year. A little different look. It's something we've seen before, but a little different from last year. We kick things off first with Ty Walls actually kicking off the season in his second straight appearance at the NWCA All-Star Classic. His opponent yet to be officially announced, but he may or may not be an All-American from a Big Ten school that wears red, black, and white. Can't really, my position with the NWCA prevents me from saying such, but Ty Walls may or may not be wrestling a Colorado native who is at a school that may border Minnesota. And last year, Ty and Zach Epperly competed in the All-Star Classic, and both got wins. It actually became the first 2 wins in school history at the All-Star Classic for Hokie wrestlers. And what's it mean to kick off the season again with Virginia Tech represented at the All-Star Classic coming up November 5th in Cleveland, Ohio?
Well, it's a great opportunity for Ty, especially being a Cleveland guy, and it being in Cleveland, timing-wise, a little bit miffed, and I don't say miffed in a negative way, but scratching my head a little bit as to why we schedule that event on the very opening weekend of college season. But that's another soap opera because we wrestle Edinboro the same day. We wrestle Edinboro at 1 p.m. and the All-Star meets at 7 p.m. So, I think historically it's always been the week before the season got kicked off, but for some reason this year it's the very first weekend they turn us all loose. And if you know most wrestling coaches, when they give us the green light to get turned loose, we turn loose. And so we scheduled Edinburgh not knowing that this date was going to happen the way it is, but I still didn't want to take that opportunity away from Ty because he's a Cleveland guy. So, and it's a great opportunity for him to wrestle a really good guy, like you said, who grew up in Colorado and wears red and black. So it's a much anticipated match. I think you're going to have two heavyweights that throw it out there like 125-pounders. So might be one of the best bouts of the night.
Well, it definitely was last year, even though they had some experimental rules. It was really kind of a coming out party for Ty, as he basically it's hard to be bigger than Ty Walls, but Adam Kuhn is bigger than Ty Walls. He's definitely taller, and when you came out there, it kind of set the tone for his season. Granted, Kuhn did get the better of him at the end of the year, but that was kind of what really kind of set Ty's season on going. It's like, all right, guess what? I'm here ready to compete with the best in the country.
Yeah, Ty had a great outing. Sometimes when you got two really good guys, I think he's 3-1 against Kuhn. I think the one was last year at the NCAA tournament for third and fourth, but I'm pretty sure he's beat you the last three times they've wrestled in college. So, yeah, I know he has. So he beat him at the All-Star meet, he beat him in the dual meet, he beat him in Vegas the year before. So I think it's safe to say he had a number. Obviously, a good job for Kuhn to win that last match, but it'll be a good heavyweight bout in Cleveland in a month or so.
So as you said, November 5th, and I'm looking at it from what my knowledge is about the All-Star Classic. It's kind of falls right there at the very beginning, and the calendar I think fell weird. If it had been like a November 1st, I think you'd have been fine with a lot of events coming the 8th. I think just the way the calendar worked was a little wonky, but as you said, you let wrestling coaches go loose. Then you're wrestling Edinburgh and VMI at Castle to open the year, and so, I mean, we're going to get to the lineup discussion later about what you're going to do at heavyweight there, but and then a little bit of a location change and a name change for the Hokie Open. Now the Southeast Open, and it's going to be down at the Roanoke Civic Center, the Berglund Center in Roanoke. Now the Southeast Open. So, what's behind the location change and the name change?
The location change is because of a renovation on our campus. Our field house is being renovated into a full-time indoor track. So we just didn't have the space to run it, and it's obviously hard to run. We had 16 mats last year, so to find a facility that can do 16 mats, we had that many wrestlers. We had to get off campus, and the Berglund Center is really a class venue. And then, of course, the Berglund Center is not cheap compared to a facility on campus. So we needed a sponsor. We got a sponsor, and with all the naming rights and TV rights and IMG. It was just easier to do it that way and to kind of separate it. It was easier for Virginia Tech, and it was easier for us. So we've got a great sponsor. Friendship Retirement Homes in Roanoke is sponsoring our event, and so we named it the Southeast Open, and it's just going to be a really quality event this year. Looks like more wrestlers than ever. I'm hearing from our tournament director that we've got a lot of Ivies coming down, and it's going to be a big event, I guess.
Yeah, I'm seeing it on a lot of schedules, and one thing that I also noticed about it is Roanoke is really kind of making a push for getting some events. They hosted a Division III regional championship a couple years ago, also putting in bids for the Division III championships during I think it was the 2019 to 2022 cycle. So Virginia fans, keep an eye out there. There could be more wrestling coming to Roanoke. And I'm not sure who's going to be winning by pin, but that's down the street in Salem. So Southeast Open. Now moving on, dual meet portion. The only event at the Moss Art Center this year is of course the Ancient Art meets Modern Art against Chattanooga, November 13th. Why just one duel at the Moss this year?
Well, actually, I didn't update you. It's not your fault because I think it just came out late last week that we added another Moss. So we've had a schedule change. It just happened last Friday, so I'm cutting edge on you, and you must not have checked your Virginia Tech Wrestling Twitter.
I'm looking at my I'm looking at Hokiesports.com. I'm going to have to give Damian Salas a piece of my mind. It's like I'm looking at it right now, printed it off right before the show. But,
all right.
All right. So
I got to get my girl to update that, but we moved the date. We got January 29th. We're going to wrestle Duke at the Moss Center on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, we're going to be there, just in less than 2 months on November 13th against Tennessee Chattanooga. So we had a couple of things happen right just recently that allowed us to do 2 Moss ones. We'll have one in 16 and one in late January of 17.
And you know what? Here's my thing. I can't read because it does say Moss Arts Center. It just doesn't have the little wrestling at the Moss Arts Center note. Man, I need to pay. Sorry, Damien. Sorry, Mackenzie. This is my bad. So anyway, yeah. So two duels at the Moss. Of course, Duke and Chattanooga. But then you go on the road. You head out to with a couple MAC duels at Northern Iowa at West Gym. One of the most, I guess, I'm trying to figure out the word for it. I mean, it's intimate. It's hot, and it is a cool place to watch wrestling. I'll be down there for that one as Virginia Tech will take on Northern Iowa, and then you finish the road trip up with a duel at Missouri. And I'm just curious with Missouri, for example, being in the MAC, but being a rising powerhouse, they've been hit with kind of the schedule bug as teams don't want to schedule them anymore because they're not getting the benefit of beating them like they used to with Missouri. And what's the mentality there in scheduling a team like Mizzou at that point in the season, on the road coming off what's going to be a hostile environment in Cedar Falls with Northern Iowa 2 days before?
Well, we're not like some teams. We're not afraid to wrestle people. We go out and wrestle good people, so we're not afraid to wrestle people, and that's just what we're about. And if we're going to go out there, Midwest, we want to try to wrestle the best schools that'll wrestle us. So when I called up Brian Smith, he was like, absolutely, we'll come back to Blacksburg the next year. And so we're excited about that home and away, or that away and home for us.
Las Vegas Cliff Keen Invitational back on the schedule December 2nd and 3rd in Las Vegas. Why is Vegas back on the schedule this year?
Just a different look, and obviously, kind of a fun trip for our kids. We always schedule some time off after Vegas, so they get to have a good time. And let's face it, we got to have some fun while we're doing all this work. So they get to have a good time and kick back the last night and get out and eat, and probably eat food that they normally don't get to eat. It's the one time that they get to let their hair down in December, and so it's great competition. And to win that tournament is very prestigious. That tournament's super tough every year, so it's a good gauge for us. Kind of at the end of we start competing in November, about 4 or 5 weeks. I think we compete 4 out of 5 weekends, so it's just a good way to kind of end part A of our schedule.
You get 2 weeks off after exams, then you head to the state of West Virginia for a duel in Parkersburg against the Mountaineers, a homecoming for Jared Haught. He'll be wrestling in his hometown against the native Mountaineers. And why a neutral site? Actually, it's kind of a neutral site for 9 of your 10 wrestlers, but Haught getting to wrestle in his hometown against basically the school within his home state. You see this sometimes with teams, and this is something you've been a part of when you were at Grundy and Christiansburg with duels coming to high schools, college duels coming to high schools. Why is things like this good things for wrestling to have Virginia Tech, West Virginia wrestle in Parkersburg?
Well, if you know anything about high school wrestling powers and where high school wrestling is popular and means a lot, Parkersburg, West Virginia has a lot of tradition. Parkersburg, and I can remember when I was at Grundy and Christiansburg, we'd come up and wrestle Parkersburg Big Reds and then Parkersburg South. And man, that place was packed and wild and electric, and it was a great environment for high school kids to wrestle in. So this is going to be, Sunday afternoon. Everybody, the Parkersburg South and Parkersburg High fans will all be out. So good for Coach Henson to think of this because he'll have a lot of Mountaineers in that place.
Then moving into January as the new semester kicks off, you head to Princeton. You'll reacquaint yourself with alumni Sean Gray, and then head down to Chapel Hill to take on the Tar Heels as Coleman Scott fully in his first year after being the interim coach last year, now in his first full season as the official head coach. And a couple programs on the rise with Princeton and North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys aren't going to be pushovers. Our guys, we told them, and they have to physically see it, feel it, but everywhere they go, they're going to have a big target on their head. So we have to learn how to wrestle as a favorite. We've kind of put ourselves in that position. That's the good thing. But the bad thing is if you're not ready for it, you get everybody's best shot, and we know we're going to get everybody's best shot, especially that weekend.
Then you come down back down the highway up, and so you go up 81, then down 64 to Hampton, about 4.5, 5 hours, depending on how fast you can drive for the Virginia Duels. Always a good field there. Always a lot of Hokies in attendance, and been a place that's had some good memories. Last year, though, injuries kind of bit you from retaining, taking another title, and Virginia Duels always a big thing for Hokie Nation.
Yeah, it is. It really is, Jason. Our fans love to go to that. I just think it's good timing to have. I like the format of it. You get 2 quality duels on Friday and 2 quality duels on Saturday. It's just a great format and a good building block for us. It's during a period where we don't have any classes going on, so we can really just kind of focus on training and wrestling. I've loved the Virginia Duel since I was there in 1989. I've been there since 1989 and haven't missed.
Now, as we look through the rest of the schedule, ACC, home and aways, dot the schedule. You've got, 5 duels at Castle, 1 at the Moss, Pitt, Virginia, Duke, NC State, South Dakota State, and then hosting potentially a national duels event in Castle. So you've got the ACC schedule. You've added South Dakota State in a return duel. And also in there in the middle is the road duel at Grace Hall. This is probably the most intriguing duel to me outside of Missouri on the schedule, is going to Lehigh on January 27th, one of the most storied programs in the country, one of the most coolest places to wrestle in Grace Hall. I mean, how does Lehigh show up on the Virginia Tech schedule?
We've had a good relationship with Lehigh. Pat Santoro and I we've wrestled there before. They've wrestled at our place a couple times since we've been at Virginia Tech. So, you got to have it strapped on when you go into that place because they really understand wrestling there. And their athletes love wrestling in that place, just like our guys like wrestling the Caps. So, I just believe you have to test them and put them in tough situations and tough environments. And, wrestling in places like West Gym and Cedar Falls and Grace Hall and Bethlehem, those are cracker boxes that get real hot and real loud if things aren't going your way, and you got to know how to deal with that.
And let's just, for those who don't know Grace Hall and Lehigh, when Coach Dresser says cracker box, he doesn't mean it's like, crappy. Grace Hall is a palatial place. I'd put it as one of the top 5 places to watch college wrestling in this country, especially for a dual meet. So definitely an intriguing duel there. And then the ACC championships, at least as we know right now, still scheduled for Raleigh. There's some hijinks going on down there in Carolina. But from what you hear, is the ACC tournament going to be still be in Raleigh at this point?
Yeah, they confirmed it's going to be Raleigh, despite all the stuff that's going on down there. They've got that confirmed that we'll be in Raleigh. They got a brand new venue there. They renovated their facility, so it's going to be a real nice venue. I think it seats 5,000-6,000, and I think we'll get a really good crowd for that.
Should be good. Now with these with the matchups, now we go with who's going to be in the lineup this year. And let's just start at the bottom. We know Joey Dance coming back for his senior year. How has he recovered from his injury? And he's had 2 great regular seasons, and then the NCAA championships have been disappointments in stark contrast to his freshman year where he had an up and down season and then had a great tournament. I mean, last shot for Joey Dance to get a national title, and what's going to be on his mind? What's going to be on your mind heading into the season?
Joey's really excited about the season. I think you live and learn. I don't think anybody questions his talent. I don't think if anybody picked up the newspaper and March and saw that Joey Dance won a national title, they'd be that surprised. But again, that's much easier said than done. So he's got to progress this year, and he's got to get more offense. And if he does those things, I feel good about his chances. He's one of the hardest guys in the nation to score on, but you can beat him by scoring 3 points if he doesn't get a takedown, and that's kind of what's cost him the last little bit. Joey's been around wrestling a long time. He's pretty wise. I think he'll be ready when it counts. He's a little bit banged up right now, but it's September, so I look for him to I look for him to have a good year. I really do.
133 pounds. I'm just gonna say, what do you got? I've got no inside information here, and we were talking beforehand about how we were gonna just go 133. What do you got?
Well, I can tell you this. The only thing I know for sure, just because we've got some guys that are going to bump up some weight, I can tell you that we've got what we've got certified and what we're wrestling guys at are going to be two different things. But the one thing that I'm pretty sure of right now, on September 20, whatever it is that hot walls are a great way to end a dual meet. Anything before that, I'm not going to be responsible for my validity or non-validity of who's going to be where. We're going to try some things. We're going to move some guys up. I'm not going to divulge a lot of what we're doing or what we're thinking. I'm just going to say, man, are we going to finish strong with those four guys? I feel those four guys all capable of wrestling on Saturday night, and I mean that. I certainly mean that. And I think we've got other guys that can do that too, but I'm not even going to speculate. Obviously, we've got some guys in there like Gustafson and Shisco and Blees, the kid from Oklahoma State that transferred in, and Sal Mastriani's looked great. BC LaPrat has really looked much improved. And then you've got some young guys or some guys that have been around like Brigida. So there's a lot of stuff that's up in the air that we're going to try to experiment and see how things roll. I think our schedule works to do that because we have kind of a front-loaded schedule, and then we have a pretty good break, excluding the West Virginia match. So we'll just see. I'm not going to stick my neck out. I mentioned some guys, but I'm just not quite sure where they're going to be yet, Jason.
All right, well, just ballparking what I know about the program, I'm going to assume Gustafson 41, Shishko 49. Then this is where I look at it and go, what's going on here? Because there is talk about David McFadden redshirting. Before I get to not my suggestion, because I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, but what I can see is a conceivable lineup. What is the plan with David McFadden as of September 27th right now? Is it redshirt or is he gonna go again?
I would say that it's 50-50 right now. I want to see how he competes and progresses. I want to do the best thing for him, and obviously we've got to do the best thing for the team. We'll just see how it goes. I guess we're in that political season where you don't have to really say what the heck's going on. So I'm gonna go political on you here and say I really don't know yet. And that's probably more true than the fact that I don't know what we're going to do there at 65. I know early he's not going to go. And maybe not late either. So we'll see. I'm being coy on this, I guess.
Yeah, because there's also some talk about him moving down to 157. Was there any fire to that smoke?
No, there wasn't much fire to that smoke. I can tell you that. He's a pretty big guy. When he had the ACL surgery, he focused on his upper body, so he's a pretty big dude right now. He's a pretty thick guy, and he looks good. He's always a lean guy. He's still lean, but definitely added some inches, from the waist up to everywhere around him. So he looks really good.
All right, so let me get to what I know about the program, what I know about covering these wrestlers for a long time. So I've already said Gus at 41, Solomon moves up to 49. Then with Blees coming in, he was one of the guys at 57 last year at Oklahoma State that it appeared to be struggling with his weight. Chance Marstar was the other one. So I'm thinking Sal spent time at 57 a couple years ago, has wrestled the weight. So hypothetically, you could go Sal 57, Blees at 65 if you redshirt McFadden, because Blees was a stud at I believe 160 coming out of high school. So, and then you finish Epperly, Zavatsky, Haught, and Walls. So you've got options just on paper, and this is me doing these things on paper here.
Yeah, we've got options. Nice to have good guys. We've got some good guys there right now, so we've got options. We're going to do some experimenting around a little bit. I can tell you this, and I can tell our fans this, and I guess that's our disclaimer is, I don't think we're going to be the same team in November that we'll be in late January or February. I think we were pretty good all season last year from the get-go, and we got a little banged up around the Virginia duels, but I think this year we might have a totally different look in November and February. Not quite sure how different, but I think we're going to be different. We could be completely different. We're just going to see how these guys adjust to maybe some different weights, and I'm sure we'll keep everybody scratching their head for a little bit here.
When it comes to these moves, with the fourth place finish a year ago and a lot coming back, I mean, it is not without of the realm of possibility that Virginia Tech is challenging for a national title come March. Things got to go right, just like they got to go right for every team in this country. But when you get to a certain point, I mean, how much do you think that these guys are looking at a team title going, okay, say a guy like hypothetically like McFadden that's, say he's redshirting through the year and all of a sudden something happens, he needs to get thrown in there. It's like, okay, well, is it my national title or is it the team national title? How much is this team trophy kind of, permeated the thought process of these athletes and where they want to go and where they want to wrestle?
I think it's got to be, in a situation like McFadden, it's got to be his idea as well as our idea. I think that, I think we got to do the right thing for the kid. And David McFadden comes to me on January 15th. He says, Coach, I can whoop anybody and I'm ready to go. Then we think about going. If he doesn't, then we don't think about going. That's the way that we look at it. We definitely think we're in it to win it. I think we've got good guys, and where we don't have a guy that we thought was going to be in there 6 months ago, it's an opportunity for somebody else to be in there. Last year we had a lot of guys that nobody knew anything about, like Jared Haught, Solomon Shisco, and David McFadden last year at this time that nobody was given much of a chance to get on the podium, and those guys all did it, had great years. So we feel like we've done really good at developing guys over the years, and so we've got to develop a few guys that maybe that nobody knows about right now, and that's what the first part of the season is. A long season, and I think we'll be really good at the end of the year. Ultimately it comes down to progressing, but we had some good luck last year. We hadn't had the years before in terms of injuries. I believe you got to be good. I believe you got to be healthy, and I believe you got to have a little bit of luck. And we definitely had the first two going into March last year. I felt like we were good, and I felt like we were healthy. We had some luck, but we also, Joey Dance didn't have a lot of luck. He got hurt. Zach Pavatsky had a super tough weight. He got, in the round of 12, he gets the defending NCAA runner-up, loses on a buzzer beater, pretty much. So that wasn't, we didn't get a lot of luck there either, but we got to stay healthy. And I think if we can stay healthy all year, and we're going to probably start out a little banged up, but if we can stay healthy all year, I think the team could be really good.
Let's talk about depth a little bit, and we're going to find out what that depth is early on with Edinboro and VMI, especially when I look with Ty Walls out of the way. You've got Andrew Dunn coming in off a gray shirt, along with BC, who you mentioned earlier. But you also got this monster named Anthony Helm from Matoaka, a freshman state champion, and you've got big bodies at heavyweight. So odds we see, do we see Dunn out of the chute or Helm out of the chute? Do we see them both? Do we hold one for red shirt with Walls out?
Well, the plan right now is the red shirt Dunn, that's for sure. He looks like the guy that we've seen a lot of him last year, and obviously he's coming off of a shoulder surgery, and I think he's going to get released to wrestle here in a couple of weeks. But he looks good in rehab. He's drilling hard now. He looks like he's the guy. Helm's a freshman, and he's struggling, just to be honest, as a freshman. And so not quite sure what we'll do there with Ty's vacationing in Cleveland that day. Not quite sure what we're going to do there, but we'll figure it out. We've got some guys that maybe at 97 that could help us at heavyweight. We'll just see. Until I really get in the room, or until we get really in the room as a coaching staff, which is until October 10th, it's kind of hard to give you a square answer.
Well, that's basically the only other lineup question I had. I mean, again, because at this point in the year, we've learned from previous seasons that you're not going to give any freshmen any pats on the back this early. We'll wait till we get into some seasons and let them earn it. But Coach Dresser, as we again wrap up this season, the second season of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling, heading into the regular season, the next episode will be the third season of Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. What are some things that we've got planned coming up for Hokie Nation as it involves wrestling? I mean, we've had a couple open workouts. around football, and just generally, what's this fall season going to be for Hokie wrestling fans around? Where can they stay involved with the program?
We're doing some things once we get kicked off on October 10th, where fans can subscribe to our newsletter, and if they want to come in on game days, we've got 3 home game days left. They can come in and watch practice and attend a tailgate, just kind of a fan appreciation opportunity. So if they're on our newsletter, they can follow that. They'll be getting some emails about that. So that's something I think will be exciting for the fans, so they can kind of get around our guys and get closer to our guys. So that's probably it for the fall. Once we get into the Moss Center weekend, I think we play Georgia Tech on a Saturday, then we wrestle UTC on Sunday. We play Georgia Tech in football on the 12th, and UTC on the 13th. So that's our second weekend of the season. That'll be a big weekend. And, people need to buy their Moss tickets if they haven't bought their Moss tickets. I think it holds 1,200, and I know we're about halfway already. It's only been open for about a week and a half, so that'll go really fast once Virginia Tech starts promoting it harder. So far, it's just kind of been us promoting it. So you can call the Moss ticket office and get tickets. But that's a really cool venue for people that haven't been. I can't say enough about the experience to watching that, and our guys love wrestling there. So that's probably the November highlight clip for you.
All right, well, we'll visit in October, picking up preseason and get rolling here on Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling. So for Kevin Dresser, this is Jason Bryant. Thanks for listening. And if you haven't done so already and you just happen to listen on the web, subscribe on iTunes, leave a rating and review, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you find great wrestling podcasts like this one, you can find Inside Virginia Tech Wrestling.
Show is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.